Hello, I'm so glad you can join me today. If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today, we're making a casserole. Codfish casserole or codfish shepherd's pie, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it a casserole. We're making that today with codfish and mashed potatoes. So let's get started and I will show you how I make my codfish casserole. I already have my potatoes on the stove and they've already boiled. I have to mash them, but they're boiled already. I'll show you that in a few minutes. But let me show you what goes into my codfish here. I have my codfish. This is salted codfish. I soaked this. I boiled it at least 4 times. It was pretty salty, so I boiled it a little while, and then I took all the bones out and I stripped it up like this. So this is salted codfish. In here I have some peppers. I will be sauteing this in a pan. I have some tomatoes. I have some onions here, some red onions. I have some scallions. I have a little parsley here, and I have some and I have some fresh thyme. Now I'm going to be drying some of my parsley and my thyme because I'm going to make some dry seasoning that I can season my chicken and so on with, or my fish. And I'm going to show you how I do that, but I'm going to show you how to prepare for us to do that. But I'll show you, we'll get to that in a little while. But before I get started, let's go over to the pan and let's start sauteing our codfish. I have my potatoes. The potatoes are already boiled. I boiled it with a little salt water. So all I have to do is mash this potato. So I'm just going to leave that there for a while. That's all done. Over here I have my pan, and in my pan I'm going to put some olive oil. Maybe a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and to that olive oil I will add some butter. Now guys, normally when I add this butter I like to add some garlic first and kind of let the flavors come out, but guess what, I went to the store about twice and I still forgot to buy garlic, so we're not going to use garlic today. But we're going to continue to do what we're doing because you know what people say, when you don't got horse, you ride cow. So we don't have horse today, so we're riding cow. So I don't have garlic, so we're just going to have to do it without our garlic. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to let this melt for a little bit, and then I'm going to add some onions. I'm going to add my red onions in there. Okay guys, my onions look good and smell good. I can smell the flavors of the onions. So I'm going to add some fresh thyme to that and mix that in, get all those flavors in there. I have a little parsley, guys. I'm just going to throw it in big just like that. I'm just throwing it in just like that. I have some peppers. Throw those in there. Mix everything up nicely. Let that stay for a minute. And then I'm going to add some tomatoes. And I have some scallions. I'm going to let all of this cook down for a few minutes before I put my codfish in there. While I'm waiting for my onions and peppers and tomatoes and so on to just boil down a little bit, I want to show you something. Now this is what I want to do with you. We like to cook, but I like to use fresh herbs when I'm cooking. And right over here I have some fresh thyme have some parsley. And what I did is I washed it, and I have this pan, and on this pan I have a paper towel, and I put them here because what I'm gonna do is let them dry. When they dry, I'm gonna put them in a bottle, and then together I'm gonna take all of them and combine them and mix them with some other stuff, and we're gonna make some dry seasonings to season our meat and so on. So let's make our own seasoning so we know what we're putting on our food. We're using our fresh herbs, and we're gonna grind it up to season our meat and so on with. Because sometimes when you buy our purple seasoning and so on, you can't even read all the things that the back that tell you is in there. You can't even pronounce them, so you have no idea. If you can't pronounce it, forget it. You shouldn't be using it. And in this bottle right here is some, I wish you can smell it, but you're not here to do that. This is mint. I grew mint in my garden, and I dried the mint, and this is what I did with this is it. And this is what I did with it when it was dry. I washed it, and I just, you see, and it just. So what you do is we're gonna grind this all up, all of it together, and I'm gonna show you how to make some dry seasoning to season your food. Okay, so this is mint right here. I put a little bit of mint, put that in there. So I'm gonna do the same thing with this thyme and this parsley that I did with this. Over here in this bottle is oregano. I made this myself. I dried this myself because I also grew this in the garden, right? This is oregano, and I washed it, and I just dried it up. See? And you put this in your food when you're cooking. Okay, let me just throw a little bit of that in there. So I want you guys to do the same thing. If you have a garden at home and you plant these things in your garden, I want you to take some of it, wash it, put it on a clean, find an area and put it on a clean paper towel, let it dry. You don't want any moisture on it. You want it to be, so you have to spread it out so that the air can get to it so it can dry. If you don't have a garden, when you go to the vegetable market, just buy some fresh thyme, some parsley, whatever other herbs that they have, marjoram, all those things that you guys use. Bring it home, wash it, spread it out, let it dry, and then we are gonna make some dry seasonings, okay, for our meats and so on. So, and we'll probably do this, maybe we'll do this sometime next month. So you have enough time to dry your stuff and put in the bottle. Make sure before you put it in the bottle that it is completely dry, that all the moisture is out. Because if it's still a little wet and you put it in the bottle, what's gonna happen is gonna get a fungus in there. You don't want that. So you have to make sure you let it completely dry, and then get some cute little bottles and put your herbs in, okay? All right, let's get back to our stove now and see what's going on with our onions and our scallions and our peppers over here. Okay guys, so here this is, looks good. So now I am going to add here, I'm going to go ahead now and add my fish in there. All the salt has boiled out of this. Picked all the bones and everything out. So now we're going to add that in there. And I'm going to season that up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of this turmeric in. Just a little bit. I don't want to change the color too much, so I'm just going to put a little bit in just to, it's good for you. I'm going to put a little bit of paprika. Just sprinkle a little bit in there. My daughter told me I have to start measuring stuff because I just pour a little bit of this, and she goes to my videos when she's gonna cook, so she get confused still of how much. And she said, "Mommy, I never put the right amount in. You have to measure." So I promised her that I'm gonna start measuring. Haven't started yet, but I will. It's kind of hard, but I have to try. But just sprinkle a little black pepper in there. And I have some ketchup. Pour some ketchup in there. Mix it up. I'm gonna put a little bit of Tinaraine hot sauce. Tinaraine hot sauce. Whoops. Yes. My other daughter is here. She don't like a lot of pepper, so she complains, "Mommy, you put too much pepper in the food." It's like, it's just a little bit. What too much you talking about? Just put a little bit of pepper in there. She's like, "It's too hot." But I like a little pepper, especially with saltfish. You need pepper. So I'm gonna let this boil down for a little bit, guys. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and start mashing my potatoes. Alright guys, so I'm gonna start on my mashed potatoes. So I have my little masher here. I'm going to put a little milk in there. And I have some butter here. I'm gonna put a good hefty set of butter in there. That should be about good. I'm gonna put a little bit of all-purpose seasoning in there. I'm going to pour some parsley flakes in there. And I am going to mash this. Oops. So now I'm going to use my whisk to get this all nice and creamy. I'm going to add, I have a little cheese here. I'm going to add this cheese to it. Let's give it a little bit of taster. Let me just give it a taste tester to make sure it's good. Don't need any salt or anything. It is good. Now, hope this potato is enough. Don't look like it's that much. So, this dish is pretty big too. See, right in here. So now, let's check our saltfish and see if it's ready to go on top of that. Okay, I covered my fish so that the tomatoes and peppers and so on in here can cook down a little bit. So now what I need to do is taste this. I haven't added anything to it. There was no, I didn't add water or anything to it. All the moistures from everything that I added here. I'm just going to taste it to see if I need to add anything else. Because it had boiled all the salt out of it, it can do with a little more salt. So I'm going to put a little salt in it. Just a little bit. Oh, I pinched my finger with that. Because it had boiled all the salt. So I'm just going to sprinkle just a tiny little bit in there. And I think that should be good. Okay. So now I'm going to take this over to and put this on top of my potato for my casserole. So guys, you see everything that you saw me putting is what I put in here. I didn't put any water because I don't want it to be wet. It's moist right now and this is about good. I can take this out. This is the parsley put in there. I can take that out. And we're ready. So let's go over to the counter. Okay, guys, so now I'm going to take my saltfish that I just did and put it on here and take this piece of parsley out. We don't need that anymore. We already got what we needed from that. And I'm just going to lay this on top of this. looks good, guys. That looks good. I have a little bit left over, and maybe tomorrow I might make some rice or something else to go with that. So I'm gonna save this little bit. We're just gonna put it on the top. Probably should have made a couple more potatoes, but that's fine. Let me just get the rest of this out. Yes, that looks good. Now I'm gonna top that off with some cheese and a little bit of breadcrumbs to give it a crust at the top. So now what I'm going to do here is take some cheese and just sprinkle some cheese at the top of that. That's a piece of saltfish. We don't want the saltfish around. Guys, oh, I forgot to do something. Look, I brought the spray to spray the dish before I put the stuff in. I completely forgot to spray it. So spray your dish before you start to assemble your potatoes and so on. That way everything comes out, slides right out without sticking to the pan, okay? But I forgot to spray mine, but you don't forget to spray yours. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I forgot to spray it. So if you don't want it to stick, just go ahead and put a little bit of butter or something in it before you get started assembling. Alright, so now I have a little bit of breadcrumbs here. I'm just going to take a little bit in my hand and just kind of, this here helps to give it a nice little crust. And just sprinkle a little breadcrumbs, and that's it. Voila. So now I'm going to put this in the oven at 350. Now this, everything in here is already cooked, so we're not cooking anything, we're just basically melting the cheese. So as soon as your cheese is melted and it's a nice golden brown at the top, you can take it out. And then, so I will be right back as soon as this is all done. Our codfish casserole is all done. Look at it, the cheese is melted, it's nice and looks nice on the top. So now I'm gonna cut it. So let me cut around here because I didn't take it out without breaking it up. So now the best part of all is I get to taste it for you. It looks so good. Look, see all that nice cheese and stuff at the top? That's a piece of tomato there. I'm not really a big fan of tomatoes, so I'm going to just skip that part there. Now that is good. It is nice and creamy from the potatoes. And the saltfish. Saltfish always tastes good. Codfish always tastes good. I don't care what you do to it. It always tastes good. That is delicious. Guys, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy this. I'm so glad you were able to join me today. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. I hope you can make this for your family. I enjoy making it for my family. Until next time, bye-bye.